Hey guys, so we created our stat system and now we can add those stats to our items as well. So first thing we need to do in player blueprint, we got all this rubbish that we are testing in a previous video. You can get rid of it. Compile and save. Now open your data table and let's just add some stats. Now we actually have a default stat set here. I don't like that, so let's go to item info s, go to default values, and let's remove the stat that we added. Save it. Now I actually noticed that we don't have some stats that I want to use. So open your stats enumerator, and here let's add another one. So we'll add damage for weapons. We can add attack speed, mana, stamina, health, armor, damage, attack speed. I think that should be fine. Now we can go back to data table, and what I like to do is for common item I'll have one stat, and then for each extra rarity we can add another one. So iron axe is uncommon, so we'll add 2 stats. This is really gonna annoy us because we can't add another new stat if it's set to default value. And I try to avoid this to creating a default value because I wanted to use it for crafting and generate random stats from it, but we can actually do it different way, and it will be easier if you just go to our stats and let's add the enumerator, which will be default. Let's move it up. Save it. Let's check our player because I got a feeling that it will screw up our stats component. No, it looks all good. Okay, never mind. Go back to items DT, and now since we got the default here, we can set for iron axe, we'll set damage, and value will be 10, and we will also add another one, and it can be attack speed, and it will be 1.1. We'll be using current stat for stats that only use one of them, not max stat or current stat, like armor for example, only using one value. So I'll be setting it on the current stat. And attack speed, save it. Now iron sword, let's add, what is it? It's epic. Should technically have 4 stats. So we can add damage. We will add attack speed. We will add, I don't know, health. And the 4th one will be stamina. And now damage will be 20 since it's epic. Attack speed will be, what did I set it for iron axe? 1.1. So can have 1.2 attack speed. Health will be 20 extra health, and stamina can be 20 as well. Wooden club, so we will add, so it's epic again, so let's add 4 stats. Damage, attack speed. Again, we can do health. Oh, this one can have stamina, and maybe it can give us some armor or mana. this one will be, damage will be 24. I don't know, it's just making it up. It will be slower attack speed, so 1. Stamina can be 30. It is 200 weapons, so, and mana, let's do -10 because it's a club. It's for stupid people. And Rock Blade, it's only common. We don't need attack speed on it because it's offhand, so technically we shouldn't increase it. We'll do damage. And we will do 10. There we go, steel helmet. Epic. So we will do health. Mana. Stamina. And of course armor. So we'll increase current stats by 10. We can actually increase max stat as well, so we can try this here. So we'll do max stat 30, so it will increase max health. And we can maybe remove the mana in that case. It will give us stamina. 20 to current stats, and it will give us 30 armor into current stats. And that is still 4 stats that we have. Now, plate armor is legendary. Did I check it right? Is this epic? Yes, this is epic. Rock blade, epic. Iron sword was rare, so I'll remove the health. Then plate armor is legendary, so I said it will be 5 stats. I'm going to set health, and I'm going to do current stat 30. I'll do max stat 30 as well, and current stats. What was it? This one will add mana as well, and it will add 20 mana. We'll add another one. It will add armor. And this will add 100 armor. So we got, I don't actually want max mana here. I'll rather add stamina or something. So stamina. And that will be current stat 30. So 3, 4, 5 stats. Pants. Epic, so 4 stats. Just gonna make it easy. This one will have health 30 and 30. We can do another one that will, well, let's try weight. These are pants, so they will also increase our max weight. So not the weight that we will set up on the item, but it will be like a carry capacity. So the max weight will be by 20. And one more stat, which will be armor. And that one will be 60. Plate gloves. This is very repetitive work, but you know, we only need to do it once, and then every time we add the item. So these are uncommon, only needs 2 stats. Armor 30, and let's do mana 40. Plate boots are rare, so 3 stats. Armor will be 50, 40, I don't know. Then health current stat will be 40 as well. And then we can do one more. Since these are boots, if we had like a speed stat, we could do that as well, but instead we'll just do, I don't know, the boots can give us a little bit of attack speed because we move faster, but it will be only like 0.1. I'll explain why we only changing attack speed by so little later, but it's mostly because we'll be using that for speed of the animations. So if you put something like 5, you will, you know, quadruple or whatever the speed of the animations. So you need to keep it something low. Save this. Gold doesn't need any stats. And now we're going to create a new widget. So right click, user interface, widget blueprint, click on user widget. This will be our stat or stats underscore widget. Open it up, add canvas panel. What else we need here? We can add border. And I don't think we need to add another canvas panel because text should be enough to add to the border. We need to make this, I don't know what is our tooltip size, but I'll make it maybe 360 times 30. Padding will be, let's try 6. I'll make it draw us rounded box. This will basically hold one of the stats, and we will be creating multiple of these for each stat. So tint, I will just change alpha channel to something like 0.3, so it's very see-through. Now let's change the text. Maybe change the padding on a side. Left will be 10, right will be 10. So the text is not in the corner. Right, now select the text block, change the size to 14, 12. I think 12 is perfectly in the middle. We can do robot tiny. And this will basically be something like damage 0 or 10. And what else we need to change? So we'll be creating multiple of these, so we need to separate them somehow, otherwise they will be on top of each, kind of like next to each other. And you can't set the padding on canvas panel, so we need to wrap it with something. Let's try size box. And now select the padding of the canvas panel, change it to change left to 10, right to 10, bottom to 10. Top we will leave because they will be, you know, under each other. So if you put the bottom as well and top, then in between them there will be massive space. Compile and save it. I think this is enough. Go to graph. This stat will need stat that will pass it. So create new variable. So will be stat type stats enumerator. Add one more variable, and we also need to pass the value that it will show. Value. This is type float. And what else we need? And we also need to check if it's going to be adding to max stat value or current stat value, so we can change what it displays. So this can be boolean and it can be is max stat, and change it to boolean. Compile and save. Make sure this is default false. And now let's make all of these instance editable and expose on spawn. Instance editable, expose on spawn, and this one as well. compile and save. Now we can dock it in here. We don't need these stats. We can close it. We can close item info, items data table as well. Now we need to create these stats in the tooltip. So when we go hover over the item, so open the tooltip widget, and the basically stats will be created here. So we can get rid of this damage, health. Now what else we do have here? Image. Get rid of that. Now this is the grid panel that we created before and we'll be using to generate these stats. Don't know what it is anchored to. Just anchor it to this one and do offset top. So position Y, do 10. So the first stat is not directly under this. And then 10. And then make sure you check size to content. So it will stretch depending on how many stats we have there. Compile and save. And actually, I don't like this brown color. Let's make it a bit more interesting. So select the border. And this tint will change to something dark blue. That will look much better. Compile and save. Now go to graph. In event graph, we need to create custom event. Add custom event. This will be create stats. And in here, what we need to get, we got item info, so get it. We'll break it open. We need to drag from stats and get keys. Always confuse these two. So you basically you can get keys or the values, because map array has two variable types. So for keys, we're basically getting the stats, and if you get the values, you're getting the stat type structure, so max and current stats. You actually will need both. So let's put values first and keys. And now on the keys, drag from this array and do for each loop. And now what we will do is for each loop we will be creating the widget. So create widget. We will be creating the stats widget. And the stat that we will be adding is this array element. Now the value we'll be adding is, we need to get these values from here, drag it here, get a copy. It will be copy from the array index on this one, and then we can split the pin, and here we got the current stat and max stat. So we need to do branch check. And now the condition will be if the current stat is not equal, so exclamation mark and not equal to 0. Because if it is equal to 0, we don't need to create the stat widget for that. So connect it here. And now if it's not equal to 0, then we create stat widget. The stat will be current stat. And we won't check the is max stat because we're doing the current stat. And then we will add it to our, we don't have it as a variable. Go back to designer, select this grid panel. I'll call this stats grid panel. And check in is variable. Go back to graph, drag it in. and add child to grid. Connect it back. Return value goes to content because we're adding this widget to this grid. Drag from in row and promote it to variable. This will be just row. Compile it. Default value can be 0, and we don't need column because the stats will just be under each other, not next to each other. So after that, we will increase the row. So we'll get this row, drag from here and do ++, increment, and this would basically generate all the current stats as well. But we can also have a max stats set. So what we need to do is we could either create 2 for each loop, but that's just overdoing it. We can just go here and now can do same branch check as we did before. Check if max stat now is not equal to 0. So if max stat is not equal to 0, then we copy this whole thing. Put it to true, but this time the stat will be same thing from here, from for loop, move it up, and value will be the max stat value. What we can do is create redirect node, connect it here, compile and save, and now basically this will loop through all the stats of the item, and for each stat it will first check if the current stat is not equal to 0 and create that stat, and then check if the max stat is not equal to 0 and creates it, and then moves on to the next stat and does the same thing until we have all the stats created. And then on completed, just in case, we could set row to 0, even though we won't reuse this because it will be only run once. Compile and save. And now we need to call this function. So on event construct, just create stats, compile and save. And don't forget to here also connect it from the false to this branch, because if the first stat was false, it wouldn't check if the max stat wasn't. So just connect it there. Let's check. One thing, don't forget to reload the items. This has caused me so much issues. Now we added the stats in the data table. These items in the world already don't have it. So just change it to something else and change it back. Rock blade will be rock blade. Iron axe will be iron axe. Wooden club, iron sword, wooden club. And it's actually probably easier to just restart the Unreal Engine. That will do it as well. But I want to just switch it off now. And now plate boots, and just these plate pants. Right. Play the game. And now let's pick up some items. And if you hover over them, you can see we already have some stats. So as you can see, plate armor is legendary, so it has 5. And rock blade is just common, so it has 1 stat and it's working fine, but it's not showing us the correct stats because we haven't set it in a stats yet. So we just need to set the text. So now go back to stats, widget, and now delete the tick and pre-construct, and on construct We can just go to designer, make sure this text is variable. We can change the name to stats text. Tick is variable. Go to graph, and now we'll just get it here. Set text. Doesn't matter. I like this one better. Set text, and we would again just do append, which is the string one. So here, so we can put two values together, and it would just look like something like get stats, connect to the first one. So it would say health space, and just one space, and add pin, and after we would do the value and connect it to text. Compile and save. There we go, and we would actually have the values here. Even shows us the minus. And it's all fine, but obviously, for example, here we got twice, we got health, and we need to, you know, based on this boolean, we need to set the different text and everything, but styling this text would like extend this video by another 10 minutes or something, so I'll save it for the next one, and we'll actually change this text to rich text, so we can also do the values in green if it's in plus, if it's adding something, and red if it's in minus, so it would look much nicer. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.